Welcome, friends. This is the first patron-voted case, so thank you to the patrons who voted in this month's case poll, and I believe just under a third of patrons actually voted, so patrons, be sure to keep an eye out in early May for May's case poll so you can take full advantage of your perks as a financial contributor. Now, on to what really matters. When a beacon vanishes in the night, a frantic community launches a search for his return. That light belonged to a bright child named Jesse Wilson, just 10 years old, who vanished from his Arizona home. Today on Dark Matters, the case of Jesse Wilson. Jesse Patrick Wilson had been through more than most children his age. Born on March 16, 2006, Jesse, his twin sister, and their older brother were removed from their biological mother's home by the Department of Child Safety and eventually were adopted by Crystal Wilson, whom they lived with in Buckeye, Arizona, about 35 miles west of Phoenix. Despite his hardships, Jesse was a welcomed face within the halls of Bradley Academy of Excellence, located in nearby Goodyear, where he and his sister attended school. Beloved by both teachers and fellow students, Jesse was a hugger and never missed any opportunity to say hello in the hallways. He was known as sweet, bright, and energetic, with a compassionate disposition. In addition, he was an excellent student who loved to read and was a scholar, according to Crystal, as he lacked any athletic coordination. According to Crystal, her adoptive son also had a mischievous side, saying he was, quote, a snack grabber with a sweet tooth, and he even occasionally ignored his own lactose intolerance. But Jesse's other bad habit came when night fell. He often snuck out of the house. Neighbors from the time Crystal, Jesse, and his siblings spent in Avondale, Arizona, recalled seeing the 10-year-old walking the streets alone into the early morning hours. Police made contact with Jesse and his adoptive mother 2 times in early 2016. On March 11, 2016, at approximately 5:30 p.m., authorities check on Jesse, his sister, and brother, who were wandering outside a Walgreens unsupervised. They'd been outside the store for 2 hours looking, quote, like they were possibly waiting for their parents. Police drove the trio home only to find it empty. At this point, officers call Crystal, who was sitting outside the children's school, waiting for them. The officers reunite the siblings with their adoptive mother, who explains that she told the school not to put Jesse and his siblings on the bus that afternoon, as they had parent-teacher conferences that evening, and she planned to drive them all home afterwards. Authorities don't take further action. Then, just over a month later, on April 25th, Buckeye PD received a slightly more alarming call from a concerned neighbor. At 4:35 a.m., Jesse climbed out of his second-story bedroom window, dressed for school, before walking down a couple houses and standing on the street corner. When the caller approached him, Jesse froze and was, at first, unresponsive. Then he asked for food, saying he was hungry and scared. The neighbor gave him something to eat while they waited for the authorities. Police body cam footage of the encounter was later released, and much of it has been blurred by authorities, but I have also cut some of the footage for time purposes. The full footage, however, is available in the sources below if you're interested in that.
You can stay there. Do you know where you live? You don't know where you live? No? What's your name? What is it? I can't hear you, man. Jesse? Jesse what? Do you know your mom's name? You don't know either of your parents' names? How about brothers or sisters? No? Do you live in a house? Who do you live with? Who do you live with? Do you live with your grandma? Yeah. What's your grandma's name? Do you know? She just called grandma. Are you scared, buddy? A little bit? Do you want to sit in my cup? Yeah? Come on. Let's see if we can find where you live. Do you live in this neighborhood? No? Pop up there, buddy. Feel better? Okay. Do you know it? You don't know grandma's name? Who else do you live with besides grandma? Who? Your auntie? What's your auntie's name? Do you know her name? You're not in trouble. We're just gonna get you home. Okay. You don't know where home is? No.
I used to go to school in the middle of the night.
You used to go what?
To school in the middle of the night.
You used to go to school in the middle of the night? Do you still? Okay. That's his address on here. What's 24025? That's gotta be 2 houses that way.
Do you live just right over here?
Officer Fletcher, Buckeye Police.
Yes.
Do you have a child named Jesse Wilson?
Yes, I do.
He is out front here.
Yes, I just saw the window.
Okay, if you want to throw some shoes on, I got him in the back. He ran down to the neighbors and we couldn't figure out where he lived.
Okay. Look at my flipping thing.
Is he your son?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Shit, you calling us out?
Oh man, I was freaked out.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
I
Yeah,
stopped behind the bush like that, and I was like, I just woke up. Like, am I really seeing this?
yeah, it looks like he's jumping. You can see right.
Oh, that's nothing.
Is
I'm
this
sorry.
his belt?
Yep. Oh my goodness. That's his uniform belt.
He's dressed for school.
Oh my goodness. He is a handful. And we found out how he got down. He stepped on the ledge on the side.
Okay. He said he jumped or fell.
No.
I don't see a mark on him.
Excuse me, sir.
Oh,
Boy is lying.
Okay.
Good. And you know what? He's small enough that if he hurt himself, he would have been bruised up.
Yeah. He says he hurt his chin. Yeah,
I'm hard of hearing and I wear a hearing aid. So Avondale PD told me to put a lock on his door and turn the lock around. He came out his room once, came in the garage, and I can't hear, and went outside to go play.
Okay.
Yeah, so I will keep a better eye on him.
All right. That would be good, man.
And I just bought a house here, so I guess we'll see each other again sometime.
All right.
Well,
Hopefully not under these circumstances.
Let's hope not.
Now, first of all, you know better, don't you?
All right. Good luck to you guys.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Next time he comes to your house, don't feed him, bring him home. He just had a big day.
They just moved in maybe like a week or two ago.
Yeah. She said she's had some problems in the past with him sneaking out.
Oh, wow.
So, how are you? Now you know 2 houses down is where it belongs.
In the footage, Jesse seemed reluctant to answer officers' questions, or he's extremely soft-spoken with his responses. He told officers he lived with his grandmother and aunt, though as far as I was able to find, Crystal was the only adult in her household, and she had no blood relation to him. Jesse didn't seem to want to answer why he left his home or what he was afraid of when officers asked. Not shown in the footage is that Crystal once bought Jesse an identity bracelet, but he managed to break it off and injure himself doing so. Unfortunately, this wasn't the last time Buckeye PD would hear from Crystal concerning her adoptive son. On the evening of July 17th, 2016, Crystal says she put Jesse to bed, but notices him missing around 9:30 p.m., according to ABC 15. However, she doesn't call authorities until 1:41 a.m., 4 hours later, and instead of dialing 911, she calls the police department's non-emergency line.
My son has either climbed out the window, which he's done before, or he has, he has gone out the back door.
Crystal stumbles on her address and Jesse's age when talking to dispatchers, and police believe the 10-year-old slipped out of his second-floor bedroom window, the same way he had almost 3 months earlier. Crystal also tells Buckeye PD Jesse suffers from, quote, learning and developmental issues, and that he was on medication. That night, neighbors see helicopters overhead, and police begin searching for Jesse. At first, it seems authorities, Jesse's adoptive mother, and concerned citizens believe Jesse simply ran away from home again. But as Buckeye PD is joined by the local SWAT team, the FBI, Border Patrol, the Arizona Rangers, a volunteer law enforcement support group, and over 100 citizen volunteers, they fear something more sinister may have happened to him. Police Chief Larry Hall claims Crystal was 100% cooperative, and after being interviewed for hours by authorities, she appointed the staff at Bradley Academy to serve as her media representation until she was ready to face the cameras. The school, led by President Daniel Hughes, did more than just provide Crystal with a voice. Upon learning Jesse was missing, they launched the hashtag campaign Lead Jesse Home, decorating the campus with yellow signs and passing out yellow ribbons, hoping to light Jesse's way home with his favorite color. The Academy also set up a donation website to financially support Crystal and volunteers, many of whom missed work to aid in ground searches, and provided childcare to those volunteers during search hours. Tuesday, July 19th. After initial searches by investigators, approximately 30 teachers and school administrators helped scour the area near Jesse's home, handing out over 1,000 flyers plastered with the young boy's picture. Wednesday, July 20th. More of the community trickled in to aid authorities, many wearing yellow ribbons. Bradley Academy announced that a sanctuary was set up on their campus for any family, friends, and volunteers to offer peace and prayers for Jesse's safe return. As temperatures climbed into the triple digits, the search was called off for the day. According to KPHO, that evening, FBI officials gathered bags of evidence at Jesse's residence. Thursday, July 21st, 6 a.m. Approximately 100 volunteers met at a local hotel before combing the rugged terrain of search areas alongside Buckeye PD and the FBI. Experienced hikers trudged over rougher areas, and dozens searched through Skyline Regional Park, just a half a mile away from Jesse's home. But the blazing heat once again brought the search to a halt around 10 a.m. Crystal was finally ready to face the media, where she pleaded with Jesse to come home, saying, "This is your mommy. No one is mad at you. I just miss you. Your sister and your brother love you so much. I love you so much." She also thanked those who showed their overwhelming support following his disappearance.
I just want to thank everybody for coming out, supporting and helping us to find Jesse. I just want to let everybody know I appreciate every bit, from the smallest child to the oldest adult. Thank you.
Monday, July 25th. Local authorities set up a specific phone line for tips concerning Jesse's case. After sifting through 100 tips, hoping to make a break, no progress was made. Buckeye PD turned to social media to bring attention to the case, asking users to share Jesse's photo and citizens to keep a vigilant eye out for the young boy. A concerned citizen opened the Facebook page hashtag #FindJesseWilson to get the word out, and local establishments handed out flyers with Jesse's picture to every customer. Days turned to weeks, and the search perimeter expanded nearly 10 miles from Jesse's home, and despite ground searches, volunteers, knocking on doors, interviews, cadaver dogs, drones, holding vigils, and researching each area, it seemed like Jesse had vanished into thin air. Months passed, and Jesse's 11th birthday came and went. Authorities have remained silent about what type of evidence was gathered or any results from the analysis done by DPS Crime Lab's forensics team. Another year passed, and Jesse's 12th birthday was on the horizon when a somber discovery sets the community on edge, waiting to see if their nightmare had come true. March 8th, 2018. At approximately 10:30 a.m., a Buckeye street sweeper pulled off to the shoulder of Highway 85 near Broadway Road to stretch his legs when he spotted something that caught him off guard. In a field, he discovered what looked like a partial skeleton. He immediately called the police, who arrived and confirmed that he had indeed found human remains. Almost immediately, the community wondered if the bones belonged to 10-year-old Jesse, who vanished just 6 miles away. But how could the bones belong to Jesse when that same area was explored during initial searches? Despite the soaring temperatures, police believe it's possible the remains could have been overlooked if the often flooded area was underwater at the time. Police Chief Larry Hall said, quote, "We walked that area, and it made sense that the cadaver dogs wouldn't hit in that area because it was underwater." If the bones were exposed to the elements for an extended period, determining a cause of death might be troublesome. If out in the sun, the bones become bleached. If buried, they absorb the color of the dirt. And if in the water, they can crack. The medical examiner wouldn't comment specifically on any evidence of foul play concerning the remains found on March 8th. March 27th, 2018. Police contacted Jesse's biological grandmother and eventually received his biological father's DNA for comparison. Buckeye PD held a press conference and announced with great sadness that the bones belonged to Jesse Wilson and that the case is now being investigated as a homicide. As of this episode's release, his cause of death and the circumstances of his disappearance have not been publicly announced. At the press conference, authorities expressed sadness, saying this was, quote, "the worst possible outcome we could have imagined." Authorities said Crystal Wilson has been informed of the revelation, that they are in contact with her, and that she has been living out of the state. There's been no reaction from Jesse's former school, which closed down abruptly mid-year this past winter, citing poor finances and, quote, "an endless barrage of adversities." Carissa Stewart saw her biological son's face on the news in 2016 after he went missing, and anxiously followed the search until its tragic conclusion. Also the mother of Jesse's twin sister and his older brother, Carissa was devastated that her son would never return home. Quote, "I never imagined losing a child, not like this." Jesse's biological grandmother and father were also heartbroken at the news. The investigation is under wraps while authorities try to piece together Jesse's disappearance and death, so we're left to our theories. At first, many were under the impression that Jesse ran away. When he didn't turn up for 2 years, they speculated at foul play or hoped he was alive and safe. But as the years have passed, the majority of theories cast suspicion upon Jesse's adoptive mother, Crystal Wilson. Theory number 1. Despite Chief Larry Hall's assurance that Crystal has been 100% cooperative, authorities are currently not ruling out any possibilities or suspects with the recent discovery of the remains. That hasn't stopped the speculations from running rampant across the internet. Some found it strange Crystal told authorities Jesse had, quote, "learning and developmental issues," when there was no other public mention of this. In fact, Jesse's only issue seemed to be leaving his home at night. He was reportedly a bright and excellent student, and no one at Bradley Academy mentioned anything of learning or developmental issues. In addition, Crystal claimed Jesse was on medications for these problems, but police said Jesse had, quote, "no known medical conditions." There is also the time between when Crystal said she noticed Jesse was gone, which is at 9:30 p.m., and when she actually called the authorities using the non-emergency line 4 hours later at 1:41 a.m. It is unknown why she waited so long to contact authorities. Maybe because this had happened before, she thought he might return soon, or perhaps she searched on her own first, but we don't know. Nothing has been publicly addressed concerning those 4 hours. When Crystal lived in Avondale with her adoptive children, neighbors grew concerned with their lack of supervision after school. According to KNXV, Jesse and his siblings knocked on neighbors' doors, asking for food. Former neighbor Judith Thomas told ABC 15, I made him some sandwiches, then they went back and they came back again and knocked on the door again and they wanted more food. Another former neighbor, Timothy Hicks, also fed the children. On more than one occasion, Timothy saw the siblings sitting in their sweltering garage waiting for their mom to come home, presumably unable to get inside of the residence. When Judith asked why Crystal's children weren't supervised, she was thrown a, quote, dirty look before Crystal turned to the children and said, quote, "Didn't I tell you not to ask anybody anything?" Timothy received a different answer. Crystal mentioned a lack of access to daycare. Also, remember the Buckeye PD's call in April of 2016 when, upon being approached, Jesse said he was hungry and scared but wouldn't elaborate further. It may have been from wandering alone at night, something he did frequently, or maybe he thought he was in trouble when the police arrived. We don't really have any way of knowing. Another incident that took place in Avondale on May 2nd, 2011, gave some reason to cast suspicion on the adoptive mother. The full police report is available in the sources, but I'll give a summary. Avondale PD responded to a call from an anonymous family member claiming the 5 adoptive children under Crystal's care were abused and malnourished. The responding officer arrived at the residence around 9 a.m. and went to a bedroom shared by 2 boys, approximately 4 years old each. Each boy wore a shoulder harness of sorts, resembling a backpack with 3 feet of a string attachment connected to their separate beds. The boys could move freely, but due to the length of the cord, couldn't exit the room. When the officer asked about the harnesses, Crystal explained the boys had recently snuck outside late one evening to play in the mud, and she only found out after they tracked that mud inside, despite her measures to install new locks. So she bought shoulder harnesses at Toys R Us, strapped the boys in them at bedtime, and unclipped them in the morning when they awoke. After this, Crystal unharnessed the boys and fed them breakfast. The officer notes a type of educational DVD or software playing on the television, one boy claiming it was math-related. Then the officer observes the food stores and examines the children for any injuries. He finds sufficient amounts of food in both the pantry and fridge and observes no injuries on the children's arms, legs, or backs. He said the children were, quote, in good health, clothed, fed, active, and alert. The officer took pictures of his observations and concluded there was no evidence to support claims of malnutrition or abuse, so no follow-up was necessary. There was no confirmation that Jesse was one of the boys strapped to the bed. When ABC 15 Arizona spoke with Avondale police to ask why a shoulder harness of that nature wasn't seen as a cause for concern, police said that because the children had gotten out of the house before, the device was, quote, reasonable. Authorities found no reason for concern at the time of this claim based on their observations, but many have been skeptical about the use of the harnesses. Then there was what happened after Jesse disappeared concerning Crystal's parenting. At some point after he went missing, Jesse's twin sister and older brother were removed from Crystal's home and placed into foster care. It is unknown specifically why. On October 14, 2016, Crystal also missed a court date with the Arizona Department of Child Safety. The custody hearing was the first part of the process to terminate Crystal's parental rights over Jesse, if he was located, his twin sister, and their older brother. Because she didn't show up, the judge entered a default on her behalf, allowing the process to terminate her rights to continue. It is unknown why she didn't show up. However, Jesse's biological grandmother, Cynthia Lauderdale, did attend the hearing, trying to gain visitation rights and eventually custody of her biological grandchildren. Crystal has been living outside of Arizona. It is unknown since when or where. There are also those who have actively investigated the case, who theorize Jesse's death was an accident, like Kelly Townsend, a private investigator who believes the system failed Jesse and that his tragic end was preventable.
I believe that probably was somebody got mad and it was an accidental death and they tossed the body where they found it. I know for a fact there's more than 15 investigations of abuse at this household, and all they had to do was remove them. They have a perfectly good grandmother who is a normal, stable individual who could have this could have her grandchildren. There's still 2 she's fighting for.
Police Chief Hall says that while it's not closure, that he's, quote, extremely confident that this is going to get solved. Theories are just theories until we have the truth, and as of now, we're still waiting. The community of Buckeye wants answers just as badly as law enforcement, but mainly, they want to know why. Jamie Medina, who set up a Facebook page for Jesse, told ABC 15, "It's not over. He will never be forgotten, and we will make sure change occurs in his name." While the community hosted a balloon launch to honor Jesse's life, authorities said they will likely conduct a follow-up interview with Crystal Wilson, but didn't reveal the next stage of their investigation. As for the biological family, they want justice for Jesse. Carissa Stewart, Jesse's biological mother, said that the grieving process has been difficult. At a candlelight vigil held on March 31st, 2018, Carissa said, "I wanted my son alive. I want justice for my son." Jesse's biological father, Jesse Machado, said, "It's hard to even talk about it. I'm sorry, son. I failed you as a father. I love him." For Jesse's grandmother, Cynthia, there is grief, but there is also anger and determination. She says he should have never been put in the care of Arizona Department of Child Safety when she fought so hard to gain custody of him and his siblings. Jesse's case is still open and is currently being investigated as a homicide. The night Jesse disappeared, he was 60 pounds, 4 feet tall, 10 years old, and wearing black shoes, black socks, gray shorts, and a red shirt. Police have not named any suspects as of airing this episode and are still accepting tips. If you have any information concerning the circumstances surrounding Jesse's disappearance or his death, please contact the Buckeye Police Department tip line at 623-349-6411. Special thanks to the Patreon family. The names you see on screen are just some of the people who financially contribute to this channel, whether they are passionate about cases like Jesse's or the other dark content on this channel. Their support cannot be overstated. If you are interested in supporting the channel, information is in the description, but even if you only continue to support by watching, thank you. Thank you for giving Jesse's case a moment of your time, and my heart goes out to his family and his friends. They have gone too long without answers, and for this to be the conclusion to a long search, I can't imagine the pain. So we all hope for closure to begin soon. And no matter what you choose to believe or what you speculate, I ask you only for respect in the comments below, both for Jesse and his family. And remember, though these may be dark matters, the darkness always matters. Thank you for watching the video. Exposure to cases such as Jesse's is highly important. Thank you all for your continued support and for always receiving these cases openly and respectfully. Stay safe, friends, and have a good night.